Oh, yes. Welcome. And welcome back, people, to You Bleeping Nerds. UBN. It's your boy A. How y'all been, man? How y'all been on this Thursday, June 27th? I am your boy A. I am the skipper, captain of this boat. And you are here with us on You Bleeping Nerds, UBN, where we give you episode reviews of nerd shit, bro. Animation, comics, anime is a personal favorite of mine, but we do it all here. Sci-fi, whatever the fuck you call Harry Potter, I think that's fantasy, Medieval, shout out to House of the Dragon. We don't cover that, but we love it. We do it all here at You Bleeping Nerds, UBN. But today, here on a Thursday, we're here to give you Demon Slayer Season 4, Episode 7 in the Hashira training arc. Demon Slayer has been one of my favorite shows for a long time. We're 4 seasons in. I know the manga is one of the biggest in the world. They've dropped movies who have been very, very popular. The Mugen Train movie was one of the most popular movies in the world, period, a little while back. So, Demon Slayer doesn't get much bigger than this, doesn't get any bigger than Demon Slayer. Here at Season 4, the Hashira training arc. Can't wait to jump into Episode 7. It was a good one. But before we get into that, first thing I want to say is subscribe to the podcast, y'all. This podcast is available on Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you get podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts. Subscribe to that, man. Really important is here over at UBN. You know what I'm saying? Because we try to do our thing over here. And, share the podcast, word of mouth. That's always the best way to share a podcast is, tell your people who into the same shit you into and let them know that your boy A is here for you. You guys are going to love it. Love hanging out with you guys. Love you guys hanging out with me. So before we get into the episode, this is You Bleeping Nerds, UBN. So, y'all know we do a podcast every day, Monday through Friday, every single day. And we're going to go ahead and give you the rundown for the week. On Monday, Kafka homie, you know what I'm saying? Big kaiju homie. Kaiju number 8. Hottest show in the world. That anime gets me fucking pumped. It does. Like from the moment the intro pops off, that anime gets me fucking pumped. Love it. Check in with us on Monday for Kaiju number 8 on Tuesday. You guys seem to really love that episode. That time, I got reincarnated as a breast implant, slime. I said I was going to stop making that joke. I'm not. That time, I got reincarnated as a slime. Silicone Sama. Rimuru Sama. The great Rimuru. Diablo kicked my ass. The great Rimuru. On Tuesday. Wednesday, the man I call my favorite, affectionately I refer to as my favorite magical little pervert, Rudis Greyrat. Mushoku Tensei, by far the most popular podcast. I want to thank everybody who listened to that podcast, because that is, and has been really since I've done this podcast, the by far most popular podcast we do. You guys love when I talk about Mushoku Tensei, which makes me feel good because I love Mushoku Tensei. And so that fucking works for me, y'all. Love Mushoku Tensei. Love Rudis and his messy life. Again, this is an anime-only podcast. I'm aware of people who read the light novel and the manga and other light novels that we cover on this show. You guys know what happens. This is an anime only because I ain't got time to read all that. Wish I did and will. You guys subscribe to this podcast, and I will. This podcast will only grow. And my time will only become less devoured by real life. But outside of my problems, Thursday, today we're going to be covering something that's been my jam a long time, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. We're in season 4 of the anime, episode 7. We're going to be covering that today. And it's official, y'all. I finally figured out the lineup for the week. And Friday is going to be a little jam I call My Adventures with Superman. Finally, something made in America. No, I'm sorry. Sorry, no. This was going to be Yatagarasu, Tsukimichi, Windbreaker. There was a couple other options, but My Adventures with Superman is fucking awesome. So we're going to be covering season 2. It's going to be I think it's episode 4, I think we're at now, of season 2. This is something we covered back in, when it ran in season 1. We're going to pick it back up. Love this, Jack Quaid voicing Superman in this. Also, obviously, Herbie from The Boys, which his episode also airs tonight. So shout out to Jack Quaid. He's doing his thing both on The Boys and My Adventures with Superman. Loving both of those shows. So that's what we're going to cover on Friday. Studio Mir does it. We're going to cover My Adventures of Superman. So tap in with us on Friday as we cover My Adventures of Superman. But today, that is our rundown. But today, we are going to cover Demon Slayer. And right now, the Hashira arc, I'm not saying things are coming to an end in Demon Slayer by any means, but you can definitely see the end game forming for both sides. So we're going to jump into this episode. But like I said, subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe everywhere on the socials. We're on Reddit. We're on Twitter. We're going to get up a bunch of other pages in a little while over time. So just when they start popping up, subscribe to the Patreon at whatever level. Subscribe, but definitely subscribe to the podcast and just share your podcast with your homies, man, so they can come hang out with us. But all right, we're going to jump into this episode, Demon Slayer episode 7. So the episode opens with Tanjiro finally being able to push the boulder. You see in previous episodes that he had to basically use a type of release technique, focusing obviously on his lower body and using every ounce of energy, physical and mental strength he could summon. And obviously that affects the mark. And obviously when we see the mark protruding and starting to become more prominent on his body, he gains a significant amount of strength, stamina, general capability. So that's how the episode opens. And obviously Inosuke, he's jealous as fuck. He's very motivated. He gets on his grind when he sees Tanjiro doing his thing. And the training, moving the stone, one show under the Stone Hashira's training, leaves Tanjiro obviously dehydrated, tired, on death's door. When you tap into the strength that's reserved usually when you're only dying, and when you tap in that at will, it's not good for you. It's not good for you. My dude's fading into the distance, fading into the light from how hard he's training. He's looking at Zenitsu and Inosuke and Kurata-sama. Notice no fucking Nezuko. By the way, Tanjiro. All I'm saying is if I'm and I love Zenitsu, don't get me wrong, but if I'm fading into the afterlife and I'm thinking of Zenitsu and not fucking Nezuko, there's something wrong with this picture, brother. So your mind's in a weird place, Tanjiro. But Tanjiro, exhausted from training, working himself to the absolute physical limit, is approached by the stone Hashira. He brings Tanjiro water to help, hydrate him. He sees him exhausted, and obviously he's in charge of his training, moving the stone. So, he's feeding him water. Tanjiro on his knees, taking it in his mouth. The water, I mean. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what was happening. Like, he was on his knees, taking it in his mouth. It was dripping from his mouth. The water. What can I say? I mean, that's what was happening. He was on his knees in front of the stone Hashira. And, he was on his knees and he was letting it drip all on his face and in his mouth. Anyway, moving on. He's on his knees taking it in his mouth, the water. And, after he gets his fill of water, he, they begin talking. And the stone Hashira opens with, how he acknowledges Tanjiro, saying that he really respects him. He's been monitoring him, examining him as he's been here and along his journey, as he's grown. Tanjiro's been around for a while. He's been to the village a couple of times. And plus his exploits have definitely gotten around. He slayed a couple of upper ranks up to this point. So Tanjiro's very well known at this point. But Tanjiro seems to be a very straightforward, honest, earnest human. And this is something that the stone Hashira seems to really admire. As he's letting him know how much that he does acknowledge what he does, he brings up his, quote unquote heroic act in the last in the sword making arc, the swordsman village arc, where obviously he brings up he chooses to try to save the villagers from Upper 4, I think it is, instead of protecting his sister from the sun. And, Stone Hashira brought up how he admired that, how, what it meant, that, what it said about Tanjiro's character. And it was something personally, something that was really important to him. And big ups to Tanjiro setting the record straight, basically saying, I don't deserve any flowers for that. I don't know if I actually did it. It was really Nezuko who kicked me, sent me flying with a kick to go protect the weak and to forget about her. She was really the noble one who was sacrificing herself and, stopping me really from, because he was protecting her. And it seemed like he was going to let the people get eaten, guys. It seemed like the people were going to get eaten. And Nezuko was the one who was decisive in that moment. And, big, credit to Tanjiro. He kept it real. He kept it a G. He was like, no, that wasn't me. That was my sister sacrificing herself, and showing me the right thing to do. And, basically said, like, I'm not what you think. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more human than you think. And this only gathers more respect from the Stone Hashira, because, like, the Stone Hashira, like, you're even more honest than I thought. Because you could have lied about that. You could have took all the flowers from me. I'm the Stone Hashira. I'm the biggest deal around. And it's like, you could have took all the flowers from me. And on you would have deserved some of it, but you kept it all the way G with me. And I respect you even more. I respect you anyway because you know you were honest and steadfast and steady. And he begins to go into why that means so much to him. And we begin to learn his background. So part one, obviously we're carrying over from the last episode. Our characters are leveling up. Tanjiro has distinguished himself, you know, not only from the rank and file nameless Demon Slayer cadets, but he's really been noticed by several Hashira. You know, Giyu, the man who saved him, is good friends with him, has acknowledged him. The Mist Hashira is also someone from the Sword Village arc that spent some time with Tanjiro. He acknowledges him. Obviously, you know, my ninja homie with the 3 women, excuse me. Someone told me to stop calling them bitches, so I'm gonna do my best. But yeah, you know, the former ninja Hashira, you know, he's worked with him, and now the Stone Hashira, who is the physically the most powerful one, is acknowledging him. So Tanjiro definitely making him name for himself inside the Demon Corps. And you know, this, you know, you're seeing why. Obviously, he's talented. He's very talented. And he's very powerful. But Tanjiro is also very honest and very straightforward and, you know, earnest, right? Because earnest and honest are different things. You know, he gains the respect of the people around him because he's just, he doesn't seem like he has an agenda of any sort. Our main character is a straight shooter, and people appreciate that. And in part 2, we really see why the Stone Hashira really appreciates that, because we start to go into his backstory and he explains his life. So jumping into part 2, you know, the Stone Hashira was raising children. It was about, I don't know, 8 or 9 children in an orphanage, a very poor orphanage in his former life before he joined the Demon Corps. He is blind. You know, they illustrate that, you know, he doesn't have any pupils and you know, things like that. You know, he's a blind man. He's tall, but back when he was running the orphanage, they were poor, so he didn't eat very much, and he was quite skinny. Being a gentle soul, being a pacifist as he is, he also, you know, didn't raise his voice. He didn't really train, didn't eat a lot, so he was tall, but he's very thin, soft-spoken, frail, blind man. You know, not, you know, he's tall, but he's not very intimidating of a force. You know, you could blow over in the wind skinny. This dude's a fucking saint of a man. You know, when you talk about like something I'm just fucking not, like this dude is a saint of a fucking man. He's raising like 7, 8 kids. They ain't got no money. They don't really work for nothing. You know, they're begging like a dried fish teriyaki merchant. You know what I'm saying? For his leftover scraps at, you know, 10 cents on the dollar and shit, man. Like, they are living rough. But they, you know, they all seemed happy. You know, a few of the kids cooked dinner for them in this scene. You know, they all seemed pretty happy. Bro, man, like you blind, you poor, you hungry, you raised in orphans. I mean, I think I speak for the world when I say, God damn. Like, God damn. Like I get Auschwitz, but you ain't always gotta live like that. I don't know. Moving on. Later, he tells the part of the story where one of the kids gets caught outside by a demon. And, you know, instead of getting eaten by this demon, he decides to make a deal with the demon to lead them back to more victims, you know, the orphanage, and, you know, help him slaughter them. And I would like to say on behalf of everyone, fuck that little nigga. No, but for real, fuck that little nigga. I know somebody saying like he's a kid and Aaron, come on, you don't need to do that. No. I mean this sincerely. I mean this professionally. I'm not even upset when I say this. I'm very calm when I say this. No, fuck that little nigga. Fuck him, that little bastard. Because we're in an orphanage, so he's a little bastard. But no, fuck that little nigga. He didn't have to help that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand like being scared from the demons, but it's like once you got home, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, hey man, just open the door. Like, hey man, there's a demon after us. He outside, he right there, you know what I'm saying? Like, you home, there's wisteria smoke protecting you and your homies. Like, what are you doing? Like, bro, like, stop. Like, oh, he was a kid. No, seriously, fuck that little nigga. Like, no, fuck him. Fuck him forever. Like, no, fuck that guy. I know, listen, and thank God for you understanding people. You know, like, it helps balance out people like me. Because right now, I'm standing on fuck that little nigga. Fuck him. Little snitch ass, little coward. You know what I'm saying? Because you was going to get eaten anyway. It's not like you survived. You were also slaughtered. You just had your family slaughtered along with you when that didn't have to happen. At least it didn't have to happen so easy. He might have found him anyway, but damn, man. At least the wisteria fucking Voss wouldn't have been on. Anyway, fuck that little nigga. Moving on. He didn't have to help that much. Anyway, moving on. Surprise, surprise. Demon slaughters fucking everyone. Kills all the kids. You know. Door opens. He kills like 5 of them. Bunch of kids being murdered. Between this and House of the Dragon, it's been a tough week for kids. You know. This is America, so it's always tough for kids. But no, it's been a tough week for kids. It's been a tough week, man. You know, between little Jacaerys Jr. or Jacaerys II, you know, losing his dome here, getting chopped off, and all these kids in this poor orphanage ran by a skinny, poor blind man. It's been a tough week for kids. So moving on, and Homelander, son. Moving on. You know, the demon comes into the orphanage, slaughters like 4 of the kids instantly. You know, he's got the rest of them pinned up. They're behind the stone Hashira. You know, Hashijima. And they're behind him. And, you know, they're scared. They just panic. Because they're fucking kids. You know, there's a theme to this that these little niggas just don't listen. There's a theme. You know, these and I'm a parent, so I get this. These little niggas just don't listen. They don't. So yeah, Hashijima shows up, protects them, wakes up, arms out, protecting the kids behind him. They fucking panic. Cause like, hey man, you know, you an adult and we weigh more than you do and you blind. Like, we just feel like our instinct tells us that we just probably make it on our own. We little, you know what I'm saying? We get into the wood, you know. Anyway, they panic. And they all dead instantly, you know. Like I said, there's a theme here as a parent. I recognize it. It's like, these little niggas don't listen. And then they die. That's just how it is. Like, that's how it is to be a parent. It's like, we try to get them to listen, because if they don't, they'll fucking die. And you see, these little niggas just didn't listen. They were, stay behind me. And they're like, no, I'm gonna try to run in the direction. of the thing that's wants to eat us. Yeah. And then they all just die. Wow, light work. They all just die. Instantly. Listen to your parents, kids. Anyway, the only kid that happened to listen is the 4-year-old who was probably just too scared to move, Sayo. Sayo listens. And, she's panicking. Her eyes are closed. Her eyes are covered. And the demon lunges in order to attack and kill Sayo and, Himejima. And this is where we learn that Himejima is no fucking joke. That's what we learn. The Stone Hashira, the demon tries to grapple with the Stone Hashira, and just through rage, the Stone Hashira rips his fucking arms off. Rips the demon's arms off. Like, not only did he beat him in a bout of strength, but he's so strong, he rips his fucking arms off. You know what I'm saying? Like, he rips his fucking arms off. And then from there, he beats this demon to death with his bare hands. Just pummels his brains into Chef Boyardee SpaghettiOs like beefaroni. And he just beats the holy good gobbingly shit out of this dude. Like fucking Buddha beads bouncing because the whole shack's a shaking with the force. He's just beating the shit out of this demon. And Sayo, not only terrified by the events of all of her orphan mates being murdered, but this man who she thought, frankly, was harmless, is more monstrous than the literal monster that just walked into her home and killed her family. And that's really tough for a 4-year-old. So daybreak comes and the dead demon disintegrates in ash because of the sunlight. And then the police come and see, 9 dead children and a man covered in blood. This ain't, we don't have DNA evidence, saying this ain't CSI Demon Slayer. You know what I'm saying? We don't have that. And little Sayo, who's 4, who's just traumatized with a capital traumatized. It's just like, he's a monster. Just screaming he's a monster, because there's just monsters everywhere. Everything's a monster right now to her. Everything is just crazy. Like, everything can kill me. Everything's gonna kill me. Little Sayo, her little mind just soaked in cortisone. Like, she just can't deal with any of this. Can't blame her, And little Sayo said, like, he's a monster. And understandably, they interpret that as, oh, this guy, Himejima, just went psycho and murdered all of these orphan kids, last night. And he gets thrown in prison because of it. And on the same night that, those children was his life, that orphanage was his life, that peaceful Buddhist, help the poorest, weakest, most vulnerable of us philosophy, all of that, he lost everything that night. He lost the kids. Not only did he physically lose the kids, did the kids lose their lives, but he lost trust and the love of the kids. He states that he wishes that after everything that happened, after, being a Buddhist and murdering a demon, but still a living creature nonetheless, after murdering something with his bare hands and watching all this sacred life be slaughtered around him, that, you know, the human side of him, of all of us, you know, just wanted her to appreciate it. But she called him a monster to the police, and that led to him being in prison. And I think that's interesting. One reason why I think it's so interesting is because in Buddhism, there is the concept of duality, of more than one path can be true, more than one truth can exist at one time. And this is an example of it, to where he's fully capable of understanding that this is the nature of children. You know, he says all the time that this is just how they are. They're prone to lie. They're prone to deceit. They are prone to panic, disobey. And all of those things were illustrated in that demon attack on the orphanage. And even though he understands this nature, this is just what it is, this is just how children are, this is how people can be, he's still very hurt. You know, he carries trauma and resentment towards children, frankly. You know, a 4-year-old, where he wishes she appreciated what he did more, even though she's 4, right? Appreciation is just a concept she just will never, she won't have until later in her life. You know, he understands that the child who led the demon there was just, they didn't know what to do and thought that was the only way to save their life, and didn't really have the concept of sacrifice and things like that. I still say fuck that little nigga because I ain't no Buddhist. But like, no, fuck that little nigga. But like, you know, the child who led the demon there out of fear, you know, Himajima totally understands that, yeah, that kid didn't, an adult might not have done that, an adult might have, you know, might not have led to all this, but he still makes him mistrustful of people, to like, people will do things to save their own life. They'll sacrifice many other lives just to save their own. And that made him sad and made him distrustful of people going forward in his life. And this is something he shares with Tanjiro. He shares this entire story with Tanjiro. We learned that the master intervened. That's why he got out. That's we can assume that's how he joined the Demon Corps in the first place, right? That he convinced the authorities, or, you know, Ubashiki had some type of pull with the authorities, which he probably does. He's head of the Demon Corps, for God's sake. So, like, you know, he probably figured out it was a demon. Maybe there's some DNA evidence on the scene, you know what I mean? That kind of exonerated him. However it played out, you know, we see that's how he ends up with Ubashiki, excuse me, y'all. And ends up the stone Hashira. And he wraps up his story basically saying that, you know, as I said previously, you know, trust is a big thing. He's been monitoring Tanjiro from the beginning, since he got to the core. And he just admires how steadfast and steady and unshakable he is. He understands, he's trustworthy, he's undaunted, he just keeps doing, and he's very earnest in everything he says and everything that he does. And he wraps that up just saying how much he acknowledges his steady and steadfastness. And I think that is quite something, when your steadiness is acknowledged by the stone Hashira. that is something I think is significant thread to draw together, that your steadfastness and your steadiness has been acknowledged. Basically, you real solid. You as solid as they come. And when the stone Hashira is calling you solid, you a solid dude. So big up for Tanjiro for keeping it a buck, right? Because you so solid, the stone Hashira had to salute you. So that ends part 2. Sad story. Obviously when you see all the kids dying in the story, that's very, very sad to see. There's obviously the parallels with Tanjiro's family. He had several brothers and sisters. They were all murdered outside of Nezuko. So we move on from the Stone Hashira into part 3. Part 3 opens up with Tanjiro, Inosuke, and the Wind Hashira's little brother having dinner. Wind Hashira's little brother talks about how Shinobu, when she's checking up on him, is very hard on him in his physical health. He's talking about how Mr. Himajima, if you guys don't know who that is, that's the sword maker. He's he seems very rough, but he's taking them, he took him on as an apprentice when he found out about his eating of demons and altering his physical state and doing that. And Shinobu was really hard on him and his health and things like that, because who the fuck knows what he's doing with his to his body, eating demons and gaining strength and things like that. Manga readers might know, but who the fuck knows long term what he's doing to his health doing that. But during dinner, him and Tanjiro agree to go see with the Wind Hashira and Gyu. Gyu is the Mist Hashira, the Water Hashira, the one who saved Tanjiro in the beginning of the show. And so they move on, but before he wants to take Zenitsu his food, Inosuke almost ate his damn food. So Tanjiro wants to take him his food first, so he goes to find Zenitsu to give him his food. He finds him still on the Stone Hashira training grounds. He's sitting on top of his stone. When he goes to address Zenitsu, let him know that he brought his food, it's very apparent right away that Zenitsu is just not himself right now. There's something wrong. There's something on his mind. He's very pensive. He's not interested at all in his dinner. When you have a shot of his face, there's a letter in his hand and blood running down his face. You hear him during the scene as Tanjiro is leaving, saying that this is the only thing left to do. It's the only thing that matters to do right now. I only have one goal. And I fucking love it. Zenitsu is my favorite character in the whole series. He's my absolute favorite character in the whole series. I love how you can just swing with Zenitsu from total buffoonery, total absolute buffoonery, to badass motherfucker just wildly. He's generally a coward. He's not a hard worker. He hates hard work, and he hates Tanjiro for working so hard, right? He's every much the stupid underachiever slacker type, but then in the moment he's just the coolest motherfucker in the world with this thunderclap flash. His techniques are so fucking cool when he goes unconscious. And then in moments like this where this is a serious moment, I would imagine this is about his grandfather He was an old man. His grandfather is the biggest training source in his life. So I imagine that's the case. But really cool from Zenitsu. Can't wait to see how that plays out and how that pays off for us with Zenitsu. But then Tanjiro moves on to go find Giyu, and he's training with the Wind Hashira. They are on ground, and they are having a sparring match. And it's awesome, right? You know, something Demon Slayer does really well. It's action scenes, especially like these sword strikes. Very fluid, very beautiful fight between the two Hashira. Illustrated very well with all the metaphoric graphics and things like that. Very beautiful. The Wind Hashira is a fucking maniac. After they fight to a draw and Tanjiro shows up, he just wants to just keep bare knuckling. He's a fucking lunatic, man. That guy's nuts. But yeah, they start talking. Tanjiro thinks they're fighting over like snacks. He's like, "Hey man, chill out. Y'all ain't gotta, pull out the gats because there ain't no more red bean mochi. Like I got you. Like I make more red bean mochi. Put the gats away. Yeah, he deserved to get fucking punched. Honestly, like he deserved to get punched. Like, bro, what the fuck? Don't nobody care about your snacks. And Giyu being just like fucking Tanjiro, he's just like, what? Snacks? What? Hell yeah, But he ends up explaining like, no, this is how we train. We spar against one another, which makes sense, right? They can't spar against the other kids, right? Not like there's a bunch of upper ranks to go up and fight against. So yeah, sparring against one another. But yeah, Tanjiro gets knocked the fuck out, not completely unfucking conscious because he thinks this is over snacks, which is good. He should have got fucking punched. He should have got fucking punched over it. But when he comes to, Giyu is with him, making sure he wakes up. Which he's a good guy. Good for him. Tanjiro's everybody's fucking mom, but him and Giyu are very similar. So he made sure he was fucking his boy was good. He comes to, and when Tanjiro comes to, he's like, "Hey, I think I get the Wind Hashira to be my friend by giving them snacks." Great idea, Tanjiro. You had to get punched in the fucking face to do so, but I think I could get the Wind Hashira to be my friend. I'm gonna keep some snacks on me, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. That'll get me. Like if every time like I showed up at work and like somebody just handed me a honey bun every day, like, hey Aaron, I think that's my new nigga. He might be terrible and I don't know enough about him, but it's like every time I walk in and you hand me a honey bun, hey bro, that's my guy. That's my guy. So it's not a bad plan, in my opinion, in my greedy ass opinion. That I don't think it's a bad plan. But moving on, the after the Wind Hashira storms off, because why the fuck would this be about snacks? After the Wind Hashira storms off, he's ranting, but he notices a tiny little demon surveillance creature. He notices it. Crushes it. He starts to examine it. And that's when he realizes that the village has been compromised. It's been infiltrated. Just like the Sword Maker village, this has been infiltrated. And basically from there, we are subjected, really privileged, to 7 minutes of the most badass, beautiful motherfucker you have ever seen drawn on the page. Muzan's entrance into the village up to Ubawashiki is fucking legendary. Okay, like you get the intro play. I mean, the outro playing, and it's just 7 minutes slow, just a slow step by step, just epic badassery. Like my man got the fucking linen suit in the damn hat, in the beautiful hair flowing in his eyes, in the music behind him, in the visuals of his eyes, like the shadows, but you still see his eyes, the red glow in his eyes, and you look in his face and he's fucking beautiful. He's a beautiful ass horrible person. And it's just like, first off, when you rock a cape with a suit, you know you that nigga. Like you just know that. Like for you to put like a quarter cape on with a suit, you know what I'm saying? With some gator, my man has some gator shoes on. Like he like Muizan dressed like Mr. Biggs from the Isley Brothers. Like that's how he act. Like he dressed like he got bitches at home that he gotta sit. You know what I'm saying? Like he is the flyest motherfucker I have ever seen. Like he's a bad person, but he's got good taste. I will say, he's a bad, horrible creature. Not even human. He's a demon. Horrible. But he's got great fucking taste. My God, that motherfucker be fly. And stay fly. You know what I'm saying? He had a couple of fly kimonos. Like, Muizan, like, honestly, like, the devil clearly wears Prada. You know what I'm saying? And Muizan prefers, like, you know, Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Like, apparently. Anyway, for about 7 minutes, I don't fuck with you. Like, the episode's 31 minutes long. For, like, 7 fucking minutes, he just approaches badassedly. Like, that's what the caption would be. Approaches badassedly to the, to Ubawashiki's bed manor where him and his wife are, and he sees the condition that he's in and tells him how terrible he's looking while he's looking like he know he's sexy, like he know he's sexy because he walked up and said like, you a ugly bitch. Like that's basically what he said. Because he was fucking feeling himself. And we were all feeling him too. He was a beautiful motherfucker in that goddamn moment. Excuse me from expounding. I love my wife. Anyway, that's where the episode ends. You know, and we're going to pick up next week with the confrontation, the face-off between Ubawashiki and Muizan. And that's how the episode ends. Great episode. You know, we learned a lot from the backstory of the Hashira to, you know, we got to see the fighting scene between the two Hashira, the wind and the mist, the wind and the water Hashira. Very solid. Muizan's badassery. It's you know, everything's probably gonna jump off. Maybe not next episode. There might be a lot of dialogue and exposition in the next episode, but you know, after that we're really gonna get running. So really great episode in my opinion. And I'm really looking forward to next week. And I'm really looking forward to tomorrow when we cover here on You Bleepin' Nerds, UBN, my adventures with Superman. That's going to end our Thursday episode of Demon Slayer Season 4, Episode 7. Check in next week if Demon Slayer is your jam, and that's the only show you come to check in on. You know, check in next week where we cover Episode 8. It's going to be awesome. Muizan and Ubawashiki in the face-off, and the feels like the beginning of the end. So check it out. You know, Muizan has come for Nezuko. He's coming for the whole Demon Corps, but specifically he's coming for Nezuko. She is the demon who can walk in the sun. So he wants to consume her because that's what he's been waiting for all these hundreds, maybe thousands of years. So coming next week, season 4, episode 8 of Demon Slayer next Thursday. And check in tomorrow, man, for my adventures with Superman. That's been getting good. Kara and Brainiac Primus. I think that's also one of the best shows out. And it's not just anime, you know what I mean? So I get to mix it up. Can't wait for like Arcane so I can get some animation for some other places too. But yeah, check in tomorrow with my adventures with Superman. And again, to give you guys the weekly rundown, Monday, Kaiju number 8, Kafna Homie. Tuesday, that time I got reincarnated as a slime, Silicone Sama. Wednesday, Mashuko Tenzai, favorite little magical perv. Thursday, we just got it done, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. And Friday, we're going to do the sweetest little alien in the world, My Adventures with Superman. Subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Subscribe, man. Hit that subscribe button. I want to get to 100 subscribers in the next few months, guys. I want to get to 100 subscribers. So make sure you can do that for me. Tell everyone who listens to podcasts about it. If you like anime, tell people about it. If you like podcasts, tell people about it. If y'all just like me, your boy A, you know what I'm saying? Tell people about it. But yeah, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe to the Reddit, You Bleepin' Nerds. Subscribe to that. And subscribe to us on Twitter. You know, follow us on Twitter, Zitter Twitter, X Twitter, whatever the fuck they're calling it, you know. But follow us on that. You Bleepin' Nerds. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. I will talk to you guys tomorrow when we're doing My Adventure with Superman. Signing out. I am your boy A, the skipper, the captain. It's been a pleasure, y'all. Love hanging out. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.